Alright, so Sony just dropped a huge announcement for us, man, for this upcoming holiday season. And I mean, Sony right now, as far as the gaming space, is on fire. Now, first it was the DualSense Edge Pro controller, right? Then we got the PlayStation Portal announcement. Then we got the PlayStation Pulse Elite gaming headset. Then we got the Pulse Explorer gaming earbuds. Then we got the recently announced Sony InZone Buds that I literally just dropped a video on, giving you guys an early look at these. You can check that out right up here. Then we got the brand new InZone H5s that video is going to be coming out here pretty soon, and I'm giving you guys an early look at them right here. And now we officially got the announcement of the PS5 Slim that is coming out this November, literally right around the same time as that new PlayStation Portal. So let's get to it. All right, so let's start off with talking about both the PS5 Slim Digital and the disc version and kind of what they give you. Now, when it comes to the size, it has been reduced by 30% and reduced in weight by 18%, which is a big deal because if you know, then you know the OG PS5 here was a tank. Now, when it comes to the dimensions of the Slim, you can expect the width to be 358 millimeters versus the 390 millimeters from the original PS5 digital version that I got right up here on the desk. The height is going to be 80 millimeters versus 92 millimeters, and the depth is going to be 216 millimeters versus 260 millimeters. Now, the only difference in dimensions of the PS5 Slim disc version is the height, which is going to be 96 millimeters versus 80 millimeters on the digital versions. I say that because depending on your setup, it might be good to know that the disc version is going to be slightly taller by 16 millimeters. But both is going to come with 1 terabyte of internal SSD storage, which I'm not going to lie, I'm a little salty and kind of tight that the Slim version got the storage sauce, but the OG PS5 here, like, we got 667 gigabytes of usable storage out of the 825 gigabytes that they told us. But, you know, it's okay. I won't cry here on camera, but you know, I'm gonna cry in the car though. Now, pretty much everything when it comes to the PlayStation Slim as far as specs go, they're pretty much the same as the original PS5. Now, when it comes to the CPU, we getting the AMD Ryzen Gen 2 with 8 cores and 16 threads. And then for the GPU, we getting the AMD Radeon RDNA 2 base graphic engine that includes that ray tracing, which is gonna be good for games like that new upcoming Spider-Man 2 that's dropping, that I cannot wait for because that first one was fire. Because that's gonna give us like more realistic reflections and more defined shadows and all of that with 10.3 teraflops. And then when it comes to that memory, we getting that GDDR6 16 gigabytes of memory. Now, this next part is actually something that I thought was interesting, and it's mainly the huge difference between the two, and that is the PS5 Slim Digital version now has an option to attach an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive to your console, which I personally thought was unique. Now, you already know it's Sony, so this is going to be sold completely separate for $79.99 here in the US. And then when it comes to with euros, it's $119.99. In the UK with the British pound, it's $99.99. And then in Japan with yen, it's $11,980. It looks like from the photos, you guys can just pop it right here on the lower side plate with that attachment disc drive, and you just pop it on there, and just like that, you in the game and you watching movies. Something to consider is that Sony also just recently announced that the Bravia Core app that has a ton of movies in it that you can get right here on like a Sony A80L TV is now available on PlayStation. So that's also an option too, man, if you kind of want to buy the digital version and then you may or may not want to actually get that disc drive because they got a whole lot of movies in there. Now, both of these systems is going to support 4K 120 hertz TVs, 8K TVs, also supports VRR or the variable refresh rate when it comes to that 2.1 HDMI port on your TVs, which is pretty much going to be most of your like newer TVs that are out here today, like your LG C2 that I reviewed here on the channel, the LG C3, the G3, the Samsung S95C, and even the Sony A80L that I got here behind me. All of those are going to support HDMI 2.1 that gives you that 4K 120 hertz output. And if you guys are unclear on like what TVs you guys should buy this year that's going to be perfect for your PS5 Slim, then I'll go ahead and link some videos up here for you guys to be able to check out, as well as down in the description section below, because these are going to be some perfect options for your PS5 Slim. Now, let's go ahead and talk about audio. Now, when it comes to audio, it will support the PlayStation 3D surround sound audio, which is goated in my opinion, and is honestly an underrated feature and not really talked about in the space. Now, another change that I like that they're giving us on the PS5 Slim versus kind of what we got on the OG PS5 here, and that is 2 USB-C ports on the front along with a USB-A port. adding this additional USB-C port on the front is definitely something that was needed, and I felt like was something that was kind of lacking on the OG model here. So one of the USB-C ports includes super speed USB, 10 gigabits per second, while the other USB-C port is kind of like your standard high-speed port. And then when it comes to the USB-A port on the front of that device, it also supports 10 gigabits per second super speeds as well. And you get two of those. You get one on the front and then you get one on the back. Now I do want to say here with the old PS5 here, you do get two USB-A ports on the back here. So you are losing one of those ports on the back. But to be honest, I'll take losing one of those to get another USB-C port on the front. Hey, I'm just saying. Now, the last thing you guys are getting in the box is you're getting that horizontal stand that actually looks like a small little metal stand clip that like clips right onto like the front of your console here that you can see in this photo. All right, so now that you pretty much know all of the features and pretty much everything that's gonna be coming with this PS5 Slim, I wanna talk about like a couple little things that, you know, Sony is coming out with when it comes to the PlayStation Slim that's gonna be sold separately. Now, the first thing is this new metal vertical stand. Now, to me, this new stand, it looks clean, and I low-key kind of want one from my existing PS5 here. Now, looking at it, the outside here has this stainless steel metal design with a plastic insert in the middle for your PS5 Slim to sit up in vertically. And it kind of looks like the back is like slightly raised a little bit, which might help with getting it, you know, a little bit more proper airflow. And like you guys know, it's going to be sold separately. And as far as pricing goes, this is going to be $29.99 here in the US. And then in Europe, it's going to be $29.99 in euros, $24.99 in UK with the British pound, and 3,980 yen in Japan. So pretty much about half the price of a DualSense controller if you guys want to look at it that way. Like, I feel like right now, man, Sony is just not playing. Like, they coming for everybody pockets this holiday season. Now, another thing that's going to be sold separately will be a new variety of PS5 Slim console covers, which is going to be coming sometime early 2024. Now, when it comes to the colors, we get a matte black, which is pretty much the style that I have right here. We also get a deep earth collection of colors, and one is going to be called volcanic red, a cobalt blue, and then a sterling silver. And these custom color pricing is going to be $54.99 in the US, $54.99 in Europe for euros, $44.99 in UK with the pound, and $74.80 in yen for Japan. Now, the last thing I want to mention before I give my thoughts on these, and that I feel like nobody is mentioning that I feel like it's a big deal, is Sony said in their press release that once the inventory of the current PS5 models has sold out, the new PS5 Slims will become the only models that you can get out there, which is actually interesting to me. And I mean, I guess I get it, and it kind of makes sense because honestly, I feel like you are getting some nice upgrades with the PS5 Slim over this OG PS5 here, but this also now will make the OG PS5s here much more valuable in price because once they are all out of inventory, you will only be able to buy these aftermarket and no longer in retail, meaning that it's really about to be sneaker world season out here when it comes to these PS5s. But overall, man, I feel like the improvements on the PS5 Slims are needed. Like, I feel like it's a good upgrade. I like the added USB-C port on the front. I also like the new vertical stand. I also like the fact that just because it's a slim version, that they didn't take away any of the features like that we got in the OG version here, but instead they enhanced the experience. Also, shout out to them for increasing the internal storage to 1 terabyte this time, which is something that I honestly felt like they should have gave us on the OG version in the first place. And that attachable Blu-ray player, which I thought was interesting. Like, I get why they did it, but I also feel like if you really kind of want that, then just buy the disc version. But I guess for those people out there who bought the digital version and you kind of had like that whole FOMO period or whatever, you know, I guess now you can get it with the PlayStation Slim. So CK, what's the pricing of these new PS5 Slims when it comes to the digital version versus the disc version? And then when is it coming out? So the disc version pricing here in the US will be $499.99. In Europe is going to be $549.99. In the UK, $479.99. And then in Japan, $66,980. Then when it comes to the PS5 Slim digital version, the pricing here in the US will be slightly cheaper at $449.99 in the US and in Europe, and then in $389.99 in the UK and $59,980 in Japan. Now, I've personally found it interesting that here in the US, the price difference between the disc version and the digital version is only $50, but they priced the attachable disk drive that you can put on the digital version at $79.99. So Just keep in mind that if you guys decide to buy the digital version now over the disc version, then decide later like, oh man, I wish I would have got the disc version, and then you go ahead and buy that attachable disc drive, then you're pretty much going to be paying that extra $30 tax that they charging you for your own indecisiveness. But let me know, man, what are your thoughts on these new PS5 Slim? Will you guys be copping one, or do you think Sony out here just dropping way too many products at once and they need to slow down because my wallet can't handle it? Also, man, if you enjoyed the content and you like what I do over here, man, go ahead and do me a favor. Click on that like button down below, as well as subscribe to the channel, as we coming close, y'all. We coming close to becoming a 100K sub channel. I appreciate each and every single one of you, man, who watch the content. You guys love what I do and all of that, man. So comment down below if you guys were here before that 100K. Thanks again for watching, man. See y'all in the next one. Squad, we out.